Hey there, magical experimenters. Taylor Ellwood here with magicalexperiments.com. And if you're on here and you're seeing this video for the first time, click subscribe, click the bell notification. And if you're a frequent flyer, feel free to leave some comments. So, I've been thinking about this topic the last day or two. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but I do want to talk about this concept of calling somebody into your life and give you my thoughts on it, weigh the pros and cons of it out. And I say this because I have actually called a couple people into my life at different moments of my life, and I've also had people call me into their lives. And I think that, is it something that can be done? Yes. Is it something that should be done? Maybe yes, maybe no. Um, I think there's some very interesting ramifications to it. Really, when we look at this, there's a couple different layers we look at. One, we can see this as why would somebody even call somebody else into their life in the first place? Usually, it's for love, or because they want something specific that they're looking for. They want a specific role fulfilled in their lives. When you're calling someone into your life, often as not, you're acting on subconscious desires as much as conscious desires. That's the thing about magic. Magic doesn't separate out these things. You have to really be honest with yourself as to why you're calling somebody into your life and what the reasons are, and maybe at what is at the core of whatever it is that's causing you to call this person into your life. There's that layer. The other layer of this is that we're essentially drawing on similar techniques to what we would work upon spirits. We're evoking a person into our lives. We're calling them in to manifest into our lives. It's similar to working with spirits. It really shouldn't be any surprise, because when you think about it, we are spirits made flesh, right? We are manifest. Now, the question that arises then is, Taylor, should I call a specific person into my life? Oh, and I just heard from somebody, in my experience, persistent negative thoughts about a specific person drew him to my life, and I didn't want that. Well, yeah, so there you go. It can be negative too. It doesn't have to be positive. It can be a variety of different things. So that's a good point. Here's the deal. Should I call a specific person in my life? I would tell you no. Don't call a specific person into your life, and here's why. One, you don't really know if that person really wants to be in your life. Two, you don't know how you're mucking up their life and your own life. Because here's the thing: when you call somebody into your life, you bring change into your life. Purely and simply, you bring change into your life. Like, let's say, you call somebody in, the reality is that you're inviting change into your life. The way that you were living your life before will be changed. That's just an inevitable reality. You say, but even if I have like a very specific role in mind for this person, I'm like, well, yeah, but how is that person going to manifest? Rarely do we ever have full control of how a person shows up, because you're dealing with another person. You're dealing with their thoughts and experiences, their will, their identity, all the other things that come into play. So I don't recommend calling a specific person into your life, because generally, if you're doing that, you have an idealized version of that person in mind. You've objectified that person. You've placed them on a pedestal of sorts, in a shrine, and that's not a healthy thing for you. It's not healthy for them either. So I don't recommend calling specific people into your life. Now, you can say, but could I still call a person into my life? Well, yes, you could. You could do like a general thing, and that's something I think is fine. Have an idea of like what kinds of traits and qualities that you want this person to have, what you don't want them to have as well. Because again, you get the baggage as well as the person, right? You could do that. I mean, what I would do if I was going to do something like that, which I won't anymore, and I'll explain why in a bit. Um, if I were going to do something like that, I would first figure out what I didn't want, and then I would figure out what I did want, and I would factor all of those things in, and I would factor that in regardless of why you're calling that person into your life, because again, you get the baggage of that person. And it doesn't matter. You might not be calling. You might be calling a person into your life for reasons that have nothing to do with the obvious, like, oh, I don't. I'm not calling a person into my life for love or anything like that. Fair enough. Whatever the reason is that you're calling that person into your life, you're still dealing with whatever comes with that person. So just be honest with yourself and recognize, like, what is coming with that person. I think this is a thing that people don't pay attention enough to. It's, oh, I want this person in my life for whatever reason. What's coming with that person? How is this going to complicate your life? How is this going to change things for you? How's this going to change things for that person? Because let's be honest here, the change goes both ways. Change goes both ways. It doesn't. It's not just one person being affected. It's two people being affected. It's the person who's calling the person into their life is certainly getting affected because they're calling the person into their freaking life. The person who's being called into that person's life is also being affected. They may go through changes that they didn't expect or plan for or anything like that. These are things to consider. This is the ethical implication of this kind of work. And this is even when you really really try to be as ethical and above board as possible, you're still dealing with it. Yes. See, this is why we'll never do this. You've already hit on the reason. I don't think about the baggage a person brings, right? Well, yeah, if you don't think about that, guess what? It's going to affect you, um, I mean, that's the thing. People come with baggage. There is no such thing as a person who doesn't come with baggage. People come with their fears, their insecurities, their other things. And no matter how together a person seems, keep in mind, like whatever perception you have of that person is filtered by your own idealization of that person. Don't assume you know what you're really getting into with that person, because you don't. And until you actually get to know the person, you won't know. So really, 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 if you want to call somebody into your life, whether, for whatever reason, think it out. Like, what am I really inviting into my life? How is this going to transform my life? How is this going to transform the life of that person? The person says, how can you know all of this and not be rich? Well, A, how do you know I'm not rich? B, let's not make the assumption here that just because you know lots of things, you're automatically going to make lots of money. I'm actually doing fairly well, all things considered, in my life. So, and I mean, I have no debt, which is more than I can say for most people. And I am able to do pretty much what I want to be able to do. So, yeah, do I have a daytime job? Sure, I do. But am I in the process of working my way out of that and doing things that I want to do? Definitely. So really, end of the day, let's not make an assumption here like, oh, yeah, rich is a very operative term here. First of all, like, what does that really even mean? It's a very operative term. Oh, well, how much money you have? Okay, well, great. Yeah, I have a chunk of change. That's nice. But what does that really mean anyway? I think it has more to do with what am I able to do with my life? What can I do that I want to do? So just keep that in mind, So getting back to the matter at hand here, I'm going to share an experience or two from my life. I'm going to dust off the archives here. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I created a collage. And in this collage, I included some random pictures and words and things like that. And I wasn't doing it at the time to call a person into a life. I was just doing it to kind of get a predictor for the year. One of the pictures ended up happening to be a picture of my future first ex-wife. I didn't know what she looked like. There was no caption on that picture saying who this person was. It was in a magazine, and I had it in the collage, and I ended up meeting her later that year. Talk about and calling a person into my life. Neither of us expected that. I gave her the collage once I realized who she was. Like, I'm like, oh, that's the person in the picture. I gave it to her because it was like, I can't, this isn't for me to hold on to. So, what I ended up doing is, yeah, I gave that to her and all that. But I would say it definitely changed both of our lives in both positive and not so positive ways. I mean, she was getting ready to move out to the West Coast. I was in a doctorate program at the time. I ended up leaving that doctorate program. I left it for reasons that didn't really have much to do with her, but it had more to do with the just the fact that I didn't really want to be in academia. But I ended up moving out to the West Coast. Would I have moved out to the West Coast if it wasn't for that? Probably not. I mean, was it a good thing in the end? I think so. We ended up only being together for a few years in the grand scheme of things, and I mean, we parted as amicably as could be, and I wish her the best wherever she is and whatever she's doing, and hopefully she feels the same about me. But at the end of the day, it really just boiled down to the fact that we did change our lives. And I mean, I had somebody call me into their life last year, and that brought big changes into my life, in ways that I ultimately really, I don't know if I really wanted uh, to be doing that, to have that happen. I mean, this person did a love magic working, and then she ended up honing in on me, and yeah, there was a lot of dysfunction there. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into it any further than that. But I'll just say it didn't work out well, and it certainly led to one of the hardest years of my life, which I've only recently really come out of. So that's why you have to be careful about these things, because like you call people into your life, like what are you really getting into? What are you? And if you're called into somebody's life again, like what's happening with you, like is that really here's the other thing I'll say about this. What I've noticed with these kinds of things, I don't know if you've ever seen the now classic movie The Craft. It wasn't classic when I saw it in the 1990s, but now it is. And the girl does a love spell for this specific person, and this jock falls for her, but he becomes really super obsessed with her. I do think that there is an aspect to this where that can come into play. I mean, because magic intensifies and amplifies things, and you have to know how to recognize that and dial it back. I mean, that's something that I've had to sometimes recognize and pay better attention to than I have in my own life, certainly with different situations. And I think it doubly applies to the situation where you're calling somebody into your life. So you want to just keep that in mind. So, a couple more things here. Why do I keep attracting partners that have all the qualities I'm looking for, but I'm not physically attracting them? How can I fix this? Well, my response to you on that one, person, is look at what's going on the subconscious level with you. Like, you calling? Why are you attracting partners that you're not attracted to? Like, what's going on with that? There's something on some level for you that is causing you to call that forth. And you have to figure that out and figure out why are you calling for that kind of thing. I'll give you a good example. A long time ago, even further back before the first ex-wife, when I was in my early 20s, I ended up finding that I would get attracted to people that I knew on a subconscious level would reject me. Now, you would say, why, Taylor? Why would you do that? Well, I had this very limiting belief where I felt like if I knew that I was going to get rejected on some level, that it was better to have that happen, and therefore I really wouldn't get hurt, than to, find somebody who was genuinely attracted to me. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I'll tell you, it still hurt to get rejected. It didn't make things any better. So my response to you is, I can't tell you why you're not physically attracted to them, but maybe you need to spend some time figuring that out. Like, what is it? Why is it that you're attracting people that way? And pay attention to that. And maybe really take a good hard look at your own shallowness. I'm just going to be brutally honest here, because people can be rather shallow sometimes. Um, and I will fully admit I have been that shallow person on occasion. So I'm not throwing stones here, out of, I've got a glass house. I'll just put it that way. So you just might want to keep that in mind, though. Like, really look, like, what are your assumptions? What are the things you're bringing into this? And maybe take a good hard look at that. And, that's basically it for tonight's video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the people who commented. Appreciate it. And stay frosty, folks.